And welcome back, guys. And in our last video we installed Active Directory on our server, and then we promoted it as a domain controller. And what I did was I created installed a fresh server, and I named it, the computer name I gave was client. And so we have two machines here: a server where we installed Active Directory and promoted it as a domain controller, and another machine, its server name, computer name is client. And I also gave it an IP address. The way I gave it was just click over here on the Ethernet, on the right click, click on properties, IPv4, and I gave it IP address of 192.168.1.2, and I gave it a DNS server. That was my server machine. I gave its IP address on the DNS. Okay, let's close this back. Alright, so what we're going to do in this video is we are going to make this computer join the domain that we created, that was mohit.com, and then I will create a user on my server machine, and then we'll log in through our client machine, that same user, just to prove a point that once a machine joins a domain, and when we create a domain user, he can log in through any machine that is part of the domain. So let's do these two things. So first of all, what I'll do is I'll go on my client computer, and it says work group. I'll click on work group, and I'll change here, and then I'm going to give it, it should be I'll make it a member of a domain. I'll click domain here and give it the domain name. The domain that we created was mohit, sorry, typing somewhere else, mohit.com, and I'll press OK. And as you can see, it's given me a dialog box: enter the domain and password of the account with permission to join the domain. So here what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in the username and the password of the administrator that we made on our server machine, and that were administrator, and the password, I'll give the password, and I'll press OK. And you can see it says welcome to mohit.com domain. Well, that was quite simple, wasn't it? I'll press OK, and it says you must restart your computer to apply these changes. So I'll do OK, close, restart now. And my machine is restarting. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to pause, and we'll be back once the machine restarts. Alright, and my machine has restarted, and if I go on my local server, you can see my computer name client has joined the domain mohit.com. So now this server is part of a domain, the domain is mohit.com. Now what I'm going to do is I'll go back to my machine with the computer name server. I'll create a user over here, domain user, and then we'll log in through our computer client machine. So let's do that now. Now to create a user, I'll go on tools, and as you can see, it says Active Directory users and computers. I'll click on this, and you can see mohit.com, that's my domain over here. And as soon as I clicked users over here, it comes on, the users are here. I'll do a right click here and do on new users. Now this dialog box gives an option to set a new user. So I'm going to create a new user. Let's name him Anil. I'm going to use a login name. It's going to be Anil. So how the user is going to log in is anil@mohit.com. I'll do next. Now it's saying to give a password. So I'm going to give it a password. It's giving me options here. User cannot change the password. Password never expires. Account is disabled. User must change password at next login. So you can see this is already highlighted. And I'll just do next. Password is not match. Let's give another password. Alright, so I'll do next and next. As you can see, a new user has created, Anil user. So now what I'm going to do is this user, I'll go on my client machine. I'm going to log off from here, sign off, and we'll make Anil login from this machine. Now I'll go on other users, and you can see it says sign on to Mohit. So it's telling me I am signing on a domain. So I'll give it Anil with the password. See, the user password must be changed before signing in, as if you remember there's a checkbox an option. So now I'll press OK. It's asking me for a new password. The new password is it's changing password. Password has been changed. I'll do OK. And as you can see, I've logged on from a user, a domain user. So what I was trying to prove was that once a server or any PC is part of a domain, a user can log in from any machine that he requires.